Thanks for joining us here on the Bearcats Sports Network. It's our weekly visit with McKendree football coach Mike Babcock. And coach, the Bearcats last week hosted a non-conference opponent, first-time opponent for McKendree and Bowie State University, and it really turned into a shootout there. The Bearcats found themselves with a deficit, but rallied late, ended up on the short end of a 47-41 score. Give us your impressions of last Saturday's game.
Tough game. I mean, anytime you lose, it's not fun, and it shouldn't be fun. You know, guys should understand that they do too much in the off season, too much practice, too much lifting, too much running to lose a game. So, but unfortunately, it is what it is. That was a very good team that came in here. I think that they were kind of firing on all cylinders, especially on offense. And unfortunately, the game kind of got away from it a little bit. But I was really happy with the guys fighting back. I mean, at one point we were down 4 scores in the third quarter, and yet make it a 6-point score at the end. So I was really pleased and happy with the guys for continuing to fight back, but obviously want to get the win.
It was a game that featured 2 of the top quarterbacks in NCAA Division II. Amir Hall for Bowie State had an excellent day in his own right, but you really got to take your hat off to Reese Metcalf and what he did for the Bearcats. You alluded to the Bearcats comeback at the end, 4 touchdowns in the final 22 minutes of play. Reese tied a school record with 6 touchdown passes, and this is a guy that seems to get better every time he steps on the field.
I thought he did a nice job Saturday. I know he would probably trade that for the win. But I do think that he was playing at a good level. I know he even wishes that he could get some of those throws back, because we were honestly close on some of our balls by a couple inches here and there. The wind played a factor a little bit, but at the end of the day, we just came up short on the big plays and just got to keep it going.
I know on defense you banged up a little bit, especially early in the first half. Saw some new faces on the field. One of those faces that was really productive, Scooty Scarborough, his first game action as a freshman, had an interception that set up a McKendree touchdown and a couple of tackles and really seemed to play well, and the Bearcats fed off that momentum.
Yeah, I mean, we knew this going in, that we'd be young on defense. At one point we had no seniors on the field, and that's kind of, it is what it is. But at the same point, it's nice to see some of these freshmen, especially a guy like Scooty that you mentioned, being able to come in here right away and be able to kind of show us something. So I'm pleased with this freshman class. I really do like this freshman class. There just happens to be more guys on defense playing this year than on offense. And so I think the future's bright, but obviously we've got, a lot more games to go this year, and 2018 season to get rolling.
And one of those games that you allude to, the final non-conference game of the regular season for McKendree, as the Bearcats get ready to head east to Murfreesboro, North Carolina, to take on another first-time opponent. Same conference as Bowie State, Chowan University. That team comes in 0-2. Unique situation for them. They had a game postponed because of the hurricane, so they've, in effect, had a bye week. What do you know about the Hawks?
I think this is a good ball club, and I actually think that they're better than they were last year. Just watching them on film, they played 2 FCS opponents, first 2 weeks, and but this is a team that I think is pretty solid on both sides of the ball. I think they've got a very good quarterback, that likes to run the ball, and I think is good with the zone read and the power read and kind of that option type football that he does. And I think that having a week off can be good and bad for any kind of team. I'm worried that they're healed up a little bit more and ready to go, and I'm sure they're worried about, are they, executing on a high level. So, I think the biggest thing for us is a 15-hour bus trip out there, and the distractions of being on the road. That's probably the biggest thing I'm worried about.
Coach, coming in at 2-1 now, Bearcats, as we alluded to, first loss of the season. What was the point of emphasis in practice this week preparing for Chowan?
Just get better. Continue to get better. Continue to learn from your mistakes. I mean, we're still, regardless of who you're playing, we're still early on in the process and in the season to say, okay, what am I doing wrong, and how can I fix it? And not just necessarily from a defensive perspective or from an offensive perspective, but each individual. So I might have had a great game. You talked about it earlier, Reese having a very good game this last week. How can Reese get better? How can the receivers get better? How can the O-line get better? The DBs, the D-line. So every position out there, I think, can continue to get better. That's what I want to be able to see. And then also to be able to put last week's loss behind you. Can you really talk about 1-0? Can we talk about one time? Really take it one play at a time, one game at a time. Bowie is done with and over with. We're on to Chowan. can the guys handle a tough road trip on the road with a tough opponent? That's the mindset of the guys, going into this weekend.
All those points you bring up, and obviously those are things you want the Bearcats to hone their skills on, especially heading into conference play next week.
No, absolutely. As the last non-conference game, can we kind of get all the kinks out of our system, before we get into true conference? But really, every game is a tough one. So, I mean, you only have 11 opportunities. So, regardless if we have, 11 conference games or one conference game, everyone is important. And so, Chowan just has to be, next on the docket. And, can we, like I said, can you go on the road and win, regardless of how many hours you are in a bus? So.
Coach, thanks for joining us. Good luck on Saturday.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Don't forget, we'll have the broadcast of the McKendree Chowan game live on the Bearcat Sports Network. It's an Eastern time zone game, 1 o'clock Eastern, kickoff, noon Central. We'll be on the air 15 minutes prior with the pregame show at glvcsn.com/McKendree.